Problems. So, let me say I'm prepared to continue. So, the first thing I want to say, I appreciate you guys showing up, like and for all you gentlemen who I'm familiar with just about everybody. I'm just screaming your names out over the course of the night, uh, based on our interactions and everything. But my primary intention tonight, I'd like this to be really interactive. Like I said, most of you guys know me, and you know I love to talk, but I don't want to preach. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to sit here and spew a whole bunch of information that you may or may not be able to use, as opposed to us engaging each other and you guys kind of addressing specific aspects that I can give you some insight about. And if I'll be straight up with you, the last thing I'm gonna claim is that I know everything. I've been in the industry for about 35 years. I literally have been working out for the last 35 years. When I celebrate my birthdays, I celebrate when I started working out. So when I turned 50, I have been working out for 35 years, and so on and so forth. And as we progress through it, hear me constantly reiterate the whole idea of a lifestyle. Like ultimately, trying to get to all of these magic get fit quick schemes and all of that. I can tell you quickly, they're not going to work. They're not. It's because someone has to know you. Someone has to have gotten some insight from you about you in order to assist you with your well-being. So all of the things online that say, yeah, 2 weeks, everything you could possibly imagine, they're fads. And because it works on our emotional psyche, we buy into it. Like we're like, oh wow, for real? Because it's usually something attached to it that really means something to us. So whether it's something as simple as one of our kids saying, Dad, you're getting fat, or something as serious as the doctor saying, hey, this right here could cause you some problems in the short run, not because we tend to wait until it becomes a crisis and then we like really have to get on it. But even at that point, it's still a process. It's something to gradually shift into. So that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be a discussion. So what I'm gonna ask is that if you've got specific questions that you want to ask, um, and you don't necessarily want to spew it directly, you can put it in the chat. Uncle Mike is going to be monitoring the chat. He can shift them to me. I'm going to look in there periodically, but like I just really want, and that's the reason why I asked that we may potentially stop the recording, because I want this to be something insightful. I want this to be something that you guys walk away from and be like, wow, I got something that I could use. And the thing that I've learned in doing this is that sometimes one person can ask a question for 10. That one person can ask a question that everybody was reluctant to ask, and they wind up finding something out for a whole bunch of us. So that's how I'm kind of going to jump into it. Again, I want to welcome you guys. Not going to give you a whole lot of background. Like I said, I'm going to give you some background and insight as we proceed, and they're really just tools. My hope is that no one takes them personal because it's insightful. So if there are any professionals on here who work in the industry, again, I make no slights, I make no claim to know everything, but I've been doing this for a little while, and I've had some modicum of success, if I might say that myself. I tend to partner with people as opposed to it being a matter of me telling someone what they're going to do. Because I can tell you all day long, but if you don't have the motivation, if you don't have what you need in order to move you into that place, and the motivation comes from a myriad of places, but if you don't have that motivation, we're not going anywhere. So on that note, uh, I kind of wanted to start with some basics. So weight, just weight, body weight. We know where we started. When we came out, athletes, whatever the case may have been, when we came out of high school or whatever the case may be, we probably were in the best shape of our lives. We were kids. Like, we burn up calories like it was our job. That's not necessarily how it goes now. So when we shift into this process, when we shift into this journey, the main thing that I encourage folks to be is realistic. Be realistic and be honest with yourself. Because ideally, the objective isn't to get back to where you were when you were in high school. For what? It serves absolutely no purpose, and you probably get somewhere near doing yourself some harm in the process. But now, if you manage to maintain that over the years and you are somewhere close to it, then there's something realistic about it. But that's kind of where I want to start. And like I said, I'm going to cover some of my expertise and my experience as we start to move through. So I'm going to look in the chat, unless you've seen something, Mike, that someone addressed specifically.
We're also going to be, Ishmael and Pulmer is going to be reading the chat also, so that we don't miss anyone's comment. So feel free to use it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Anybody want to jump in, ask a specific question about something that they're experiencing?
Yeah, I'll go first. Thanks again for sharing with us tonight. So pandemic started, gyms closed down. I put on about 30 pounds, right? I went through a fast. I got back in the gym, got it dropped back down, but I'm seeing that now I'm 30 years old and I can't get back to under 200, right? And so with that being said, you were talking about weight and growing older. Is that a good thing if I'm back to, like, you know, top physical fitness? I guess I'm not there yet, but is that a good thing, or should I be trying to get under 200 pounds?
Okay, so excellent question. So when it comes to weight, I'm going to give you a couple of, so the first suggestion that I would make that makes that tracking aspect the most beneficial, you should weigh yourself first thing in the morning. Because that's when, and this ties into something that Phil just said, it ties into fasting, because that's one of those aspects that people have turned into fads. But as I expressed in one of our previous conversations earlier in the month, we all fast. That's what you're doing when you're sleeping. You're fasting when you're sleeping. So unless you just ate an enormous meal just before you went to sleep, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to use everything that you consumed over the course of however long you sleep for your body to do what it can't and doesn't do when you're active. So when you're moving around and it's got to blink your eyes and move your hands and all of that, your body doesn't do the basic functioning. But when it gets down to you sleeping and you're resting and the reparative aspects, that's when your body uses the excess you may have acquired. But now there's a caveat to that. It may utilize the immediate excess, but some of the excess that we retain over lengthy periods, we have to attack that specifically. So in response to Phil's question, before I get too far from it, don't focus so heavily on the weight, because so when you go to the doctor, you should be able to get them to give you a sense of what your BMI is. So how much fat you have, how much muscle. That's what's going to give you an idea of what you should weigh. And that's what we should be getting from physicians, because when we look at the standard sizing and the standard assessments that exist, I was telling the brothers this the other day, based on the statistics and based on the gauging and measurements that they use, believe it or not, just about every professional athlete, even basketball players, are considered overweight, because they're not taking into consideration how much muscle we have. So when you're going to a physician, they should be able to give you a sense and idea of how much you should weigh healthy, as opposed to what the statistics say. And that's based on how your body's functioning, some of the tests that they're gonna do that's gonna give you an idea of how much fat is in your urine, and a whole lot of assessments that they can make. But those are specific questions we have to ask. Otherwise, they're just gonna tell you to get on a scale, check your height, and they're gonna give you a ratio based on that. So don't focus so much on the weight. Phil and I are supposed to link up soon. So when I see you, I can give you a better sense of like where you are as opposed to where you're trying to go. And a lot of times, if we're looking at it from the standpoint of us making physical adjustments, we should be focusing on specific body parts, considering the size difference in certain muscles. So I hope I answered your question. Go ahead, Victor.
Thank you.
Hey, Kendrick. Question for you. You talked about earlier about using magnesium for a dietetic. And I don't know if you talk about the magnesium capsules or different types of other type of magnesiums that's out there that you should utilize.
Gotcha. Good question. Good question, Victor. So we've discussed magnesium at length. And I know off the top of my head, just kind of looking across the screen, there are at least 4, if not 6 brothers on here who would solemnly swear and throw a hand in the air that magnesium works. But there is the patience aspect. Like, again, I'm not selling miracles. Like, I'm not telling you do this and next week you're going to be in superhero status. But if you're consistent, my whole family uses magnesium. If you're consistent, you're going to see the results. So what I suggest with that, so to answer Victor's question, I'm partial to the powder because the powder is more soluble and it doesn't have to break down that vegetable capsule that it's inside. The vegetable capsule is not the worst thing, but you're trying to purge waste. So you want to get that magnesium into your system and reacting to what's in your system as quickly as possible, because your body's going to respond to it and it's going to dispense it. It's going to disperse it. So those of you who have used the magnesium, you realize if you did it and there was a very specific set of instructions that I sent folks along with it to do it, because the activation is based on water, not fluid, water. Because when you notice, it turns up, it bubbles up your system, and anything that it comes in contact with, it's going to dispense. But it's based on how much water you have in your system. It's a gradual process. So this isn't one of the circumstances where the more, the better. Because if I suggest you start with 2 teaspoons and you say, oh, well, if 2 teaspoons will do this, what will 4 teaspoons do? 4 teaspoons will probably land you in your bathroom for a good day and a half. Because as long as it's in your system, everything that you consume that has fluid in it is going to activate it, and you're going to be passing waste. So you make it gradual. It's going to do what it's supposed to. Now, again, nothing miraculous. If you have compound fat, and that's when we have these areas in our abdomen where we have retained fat tissue to the point that it's hard, it's solid. That's a combination of exercise to activate that, and then the gradual purging of that fat. But it's also a matter of changing your diet. So that's a critical thing. And where I'd want to segue, I hope I answered your question, Victor. Where I would segue, go ahead, bro.
Yes, sir. But the question is, the main thing is they said that if you utilize it too much, it can hurt you physically.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying it shouldn't be an excessive process. So I would suggest 2 to 3 times a week to start, to allow your body to adapt, to adjust to it. And that's the case in anything. Moderation is the key to anything. Like when we talk about good and bad, what we shouldn't do, everything, even the best of things, we need to do in moderation. And especially when it's a matter that you're addressing a long-term issue. So if this is something that you've acquired, some weight, some fat that you've acquired over a lengthy period, it's not going away in a couple of weeks, a couple of days. So you could start with a day, 1 day a week, see how your body responds to it, because there is an adjustive process that goes on. Let me say this before I go any further. All of this should be done in conjunction and in partnership with medical professionals. And I say that from the standpoint that you should be getting some insight from your physician where you are physically, because I don't know you guys well enough. Although magnesium is something that occurs naturally in our bodies, I can't tell you what your tolerance level is. I can't tell you what your medical challenges may be that may have an adverse or prompt or cause an adverse experience. So this should be done in conjunction with physicians, specialists if you have conditions, specific conditions, nutritionists, dietitians, folks who can assist you in your specific journey. So none of this is standard, but some things, like I said, in a very gradual, if you notice in the instructions that I sent, I asked and suggested that you started with the lowest amount of it and then gradually increase it based on how your body responds to it. But the instructions were specific, and the water is critical, because even if it's a matter that you take too much, if you dilute it, your body will process it, because it's comparable in a chemical composition to alcohol. Alcohol is toxic to our body. That's why we get drunk so quick, because as soon as it goes into your system, your body identifies it. It's like, oh my goodness, I got to do something with this. I got to get rid of it. So it pushes it into your bloodstream because it's trying to get it away from your organs. It's trying to get it away from the things that could be adversely affected. Good, Vic? Okay. Next up.
Kendrick, this is the product you recommended, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's called Calm. They don't write me any checks. I'm not a Calm shareholder. Most of the time, what I'm imparting to folks are things that I've had personal experience with and that I've monitored the use of with people that I provide services to.
Great.
So,
I have a question from the chat.
go ahead.
Question from the chat is from Rob. It says, recently started working out again, first time in 3 years, and I keep injuring myself to the point of pulling a muscle. Is that just part of the process, or am I just doing too much?
Which Rob who? Raise your hand.
Bob Flemister.
Bob Flemister. Okay, so because I kind of want to get a sense, even though I can't see you guys fully physically. Full disclosure, I can usually look at your face and tell what your body type is.
Oh, I'm fat.
Because we retain weight first and primarily in our faces. Like, if you ever notice, when you lose weight, the first thing that thins out is your face because of the bone structure, but that's also the first place that we retain weight. So yeah, definitely, you're doing too much. People tend to, what is the saying? No pain, no gain. Yeah, people tend to associate pain and injury with working out. That's unreasonable. So the basic premise of exercise, when you're doing resistance exercising, and most exercises that are going to challenge your body, there will be some tissue damage. That's what builds muscle. The muscle is damaged and your body repairs it stronger. That's a back and forth process. But when you're talking about injuries that debilitate you and that interfere with your ability to perform whatever you're doing too much. It's always best to start light and gradually work up, because you're reacclimating your body to an experience that it was previously having. There's the saying that muscle has memory. This is true, but you can't make it remember any quicker than it's prepared to. That's the same thing dietarily. When you change your diet, when you make adjustments to your diet, it has to be a gradual process, because our bodies can make fuel from dirt. So given whatever it is that you may consume, your body, if that's what it's accustomed to, that's what it's going to prioritize. So all of these fads like, oh, yesterday I had a 16.5-ounce steak. Today I'm a vegan. Your body's looking for that steak because that's what it's accustomed to. So you can pump all those vegetables into you all you want to, vegan for days. That is waste matter. Like, that's foreign matter to your body. It's like, no, I don't want this. I need to make space for the steak. And if you do it close enough to that steak, your body will hold on to that steak to turn it into whatever it can and needs to sustain you. Because it's a basic premise when it comes to the human body, our bodies will defend us against ourselves. That's an innate process. Anybody want to do an experiment? Try to bite your thumb off right now. You can't. Your body's, unless you have a psychosymptomatic circumstance, your body will not allow you to intentionally harm it. Now, in an abrupt circumstance, like if you jump out in front of a car, it's like, I can't control that. But the idea of you sawing a finger off, biting a finger off, it's highly unlikely that your body's going to allow you to do that. So I say that to say that your body gets accustomed to what you consume, and that's what it prioritizes until you make the gradual shift. So when it comes to exercising, you want to build up. You want to reacclimate your body. It says, oh, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, we're back at this. Like, this is going to happen, and it'll adjust with you. I saw a question. Did one of you guys, because I want to tie this question, someone, Rob, are you stretching before you're working out? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. That was Kevin's weigh-in, which was good in regards to stretching, because I wanted to elaborate on that. I thought it was a question, but Kevin covered it in the chat. you want to loosen up. You want to warm your body up. Like, cold muscles are non-responsive muscles, and they're going to tear, they're going to stretch, they're going to strain. You want to heat your body up. So your body's like, okay, we're about to do something. And then just gradually shift into it. How often are you working out?
3 times a week minimum.
Okay. That's the other thing that people tend to think, oh, okay, more is better. It's not. You should gradually shift into it, give your body time to adjust to the experience, this new experience or this reintroduced experience, and you'll get to go. Who's up?
I just want to make a comment, Kendrick.
Mhm.
Something I gained from coming to these meetings, and you helped me a lot with the whole concept of the importance of drinking water. Before you shared that with me, I thought I was drinking enough water, but then you mentioned to me that if I can't measure how much I'm drinking, I'm probably not drinking enough. And that's when I purchased this, and I'm up to drinking 2 of them. This is 32 ounces. 64 ounces, and it has changed my diet. It has like revolutionized my experience drinking. And I thank you for sharing that information with me.
No problem. And I'll reiterate that because as he said, I mentioned that before. If I ask you, or if someone asks you, there you go. I see you, Jason. If someone asks you how much water you're drinking and you don't know specifically, I can immediately tell you you're not drinking enough, because that's a calculated process. Like, you have to know. And so there's a basic calculation that we use. Again, basic, but it's adjustable. You should be drinking approximately half your body weight in ounces of water. Now, that's a basic scale based on no challenges, no medications, no supplements, like anything that you're doing, consuming, that's going to challenge your water consumption, then you should increase it. But on that same note, I want to say that that's a graduation. Like, I'm not telling you today you don't know and you haven't been drinking water, and then I'm expecting you to knock 2 of these down a day. It's not reasonable. Again, your body's not accustomed to it, and it's going to be like, what are we doing? Like, I'm not here for this. Where's that grape soda? Where's that Coca-Cola? Where's that whatever you've been giving me? It has to be a gradual introduction. So you work up to it. Like, as quickly as I can drink a gallon of water a day, I've adjusted to a half gallon so that I just fill this up 2 times. Takes the pressure off, and I usually go back and forth between alkaline and filtered water. So it's critical. Like, that's a very, very important part of the whole process, hydration, because your muscles need that water for the processes. Every process that transpires in your body needs water for.
Yo, Ken, on the flip side of that, you actually told me as well that you can overdrink water. And if you just see it, well, you can explain that part as well.
Exactly. So, and I'm gonna segue real quick because it just amazes me. And it's like, I think it's, if I'm counting there, at least four Spartans on here.
It's way more than 4.
How? Huh?
It's more than 4.
Whatever. But it amazes me how, like, we go over the course of our lives and, like, the connection is just like crazy. It seems like something you would just say, but it's like Art just really plucked that thought out of my brain. And then I referenced earlier that Kev put the comment in the chat. Like, that Spartan thing is bananas. Anyway, okay, so like Art said, so in that context, it's pretty simple for you to ascertain whether or not you're drinking too much water. And that's even when you're on the lower level graduating. Your urine shouldn't be clear. It shouldn't be clear. It should have a tint. So if you're peeing water, you're drinking too much water. And you kind of got to scale it back and kind of look at. Now, that could be something medically related, or it could be a matter that you're just overdoing it, because that water consumption that I mentioned should be over the course of the day. So it's not like get it in whenever you can. So if you can stand in the kitchen first thing in the morning and guzzle down a half gallon of water, I'm not suggesting that. Like, you should kind of have like that bottle that Uncle Mike held up earlier. It has markings on it, so you can kind of gauge how much you're drinking over the course of the day based on your activity. So, but yes, you definitely can drink too much water, and you'll see it, you'll feel it. So the simplest way to ascertain it when you're going to urinate, check the tint. If it's too dark, you're not drinking enough. If it's too light, you're drinking too much. It should have like a really slight tint to it, kind of like a slight tint. I think we can all use our judgment for that, but like I said, it shouldn't be really dark because you'll probably notice that your urine is dark when you take supplements. That shouldn't be the case. If there are specific periods and times when you should take supplements in order for them to be the most beneficial. And I'm going to juxtapose that to anyone who may be taking medication. You notice physicians or the pharmacist or whomever may tell you to take medications at certain times. And some medications you have to take with food. It's the same thing. And when I'm saying supplements, I'm talking about a broad array, but I'm speaking more specifically about multivitamins, D's, C's, whatever the case may be. You want to take those preferably first thing in the morning because they're going to go into your bloodstream without any inhibition. And even if your diet is kind of off, they're going to go into your bloodstream. What your body's always going to do is get rid of what it doesn't need. So even if you take those supplements and your body's not ready for them, they're just going away. As opposed to what a lot of people tend to experience, they're like, oh, this isn't working, because you probably put it in your system when it's full of food. It's going to go into that food and it's just going to get passed with the food. So you kind of want to be specific and very methodic about when you do certain things. And that's one of the cases when it comes to supplements. Who's up? Like I told you, I got topics for days. I just want to make sure that we don't graze over. I don't want to bypass.
I'll say a few words. What's up, Kendrick? Thanks
Go
for
ahead,
coming up tonight, brother. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And yeah, I just wanted to talk about the Calm because I started using the Calm, and at first it wasn't. I felt like it wasn't working. My elimination was all over the place. Sometimes I was going, sometimes I wasn't. Then I was taking more, and then I was taking too much, and then I just hung with it, man. It took about a month, right? I started taking it 2 teaspoons, and about maybe a month after, then I started getting regular. And now sometimes I could just take 1 teaspoon, and based on what I eat, and it I'm real regular, man. Like I'm eliminating the food that I ate the night before, and I can feel it because I feel light all day. And I fasted and I lost about maybe 15 pounds, and I'm still, the weight isn't coming back on me, and I just feel lighter. So and I'm drinking a whole lot more. I've never drank as much water as I drink now. Like I bought one of these things. It's 32 ounces. I drink 2. And I wasn't a water drinker at all. And it used to make me pee a lot. That's why I didn't like to drink, because I get up in the middle of the night and piss. But now my body's acting, man, it just feels good to feel light. So appreciate that, man. And for sure that, you got to give it time. I think, just got to give it time to work, I guess, in your body. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, I just want to say that. Thank you for sharing that.
Cool. Glad to hear.
Y'all said Calm. What's the name of it?
Calm.
Okay.
I think Uncle Mike has a bottle. Hold that bottle up, Mike.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
Okay.
She put it in the chat, where you can purchase it from Amazon.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Like I said, they're not writing me any checks. I've tried it. I recommended it to countless individuals and have yet to. And like I said, I trust it to my family. So if I didn't think, or if I thought there was some potential detriment, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Like, like I said, there are extenuating circumstances in any context, but from a basic standpoint, it'll give you a jump start. And like I said, that's the big thing that we need to be considering. The starting point. We need to start where we are as opposed to where we think we are. And what our minds are telling us, despite the fact that how we feel and the mirror is telling us something different. Like we got to start in reality, because that's how you get where you're going. When you know where you are, you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to Albuquerque, and you're in New York, and you tell yourself it's only going to take you 2 hours walking. Good luck. Like you're going to realize very quickly, going to be a much longer walk than you thought. So when you take into consideration where you actually are, it's a lot simpler to progress as opposed to us. And like I said, the reality of us seeing like, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm experiencing, and also taking into consideration what got us there. You know, we tend to want to overlook those things because they aren't things that we want to address, as opposed to us saying, okay, I used to do this, and this, that, and the other. We got away from those, move more toward habits that we knew were detrimental, but because of whatever we may be experiencing, we focus on feeling good. And a lot of times that feeling good cost us. It costs us in ways that we don't even take into consideration until we stop feeling good from that. You know, and this is the lifestyle, you know, because we were on here as dads, this is something that we should be encouraging in our kids and the young people that we come in contact with as early as we possibly can. Like, not to the extent that we hope, but they'll listen to us all day. But more important and what's more effective is them seeing what we do, because they'll mimic it. Ishmael posts stuff all the time of kids trying to work out like their dads. They don't know what they're doing. They're just doing what their dad is doing. And that will transfer into a lifestyle. Literally, there's no way that it won't, because they're mimicking someone who matters to them. So like, we should be mindful of that, and we should be encouraging folks. Even when we're talking about mentoring, a critical part of mentoring is a whole lifestyle circumstance. Us considering all of the things that we did get, that allows us to round out these people that when mentoring, you're taking responsibility for someone. This isn't just some passive, hey, I'm gonna try this and see if it works. No, you're deciding that you want to be responsible for this person. You may not encapsulate their entire experience into their life and decide that you want to affect them. Understand that that's a responsibility that you're taking on. So when we do that, their physical well-being, it should be important. It should be as important as us trying to help them get a job and all of the other things.
Kendrick, I have a question.
Kendrick.
Yeah, I just saw it. The one from Kenyatta.
No, I had another question.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
You mentioned to me about the importance of eating pineapples. Eating pineapple. Can you share that with the group? I've been eating more pineapples.
So pineapple is a superfruit. It does things for you. There's still ascertaining ways that it affects and benefits the human body. One of the primary benefits that I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with is that it cleans, well, some folks may not be, so newsflash, it cleans the vaginal wall. It cleans and clears bacteria from vaginal walls, and it also neutralizes semen. Not neutralizing in the sense of making it ineffective as much as odor, the altered taste, or whatever the case may be. Like, it has great effects on sexual functioning. In addition to, it's a very beneficial sugar. We tend to lump all sugars in the same place. They're not all the same. I can't think off the top of my head of one fruit that the sugar is detrimental, as opposed to high fructose corn syrup, the granulated sugar, and all of this other fancy stuff, the substitutes. Like, anybody who can manufacture something, I'm gonna go with what God made out on a tree, as opposed to something that someone's mass producing in a factory. So when we're looking for fruit, it's far more beneficial for you to find it in something natural and regulate it that way. We tend to look at sugar and respond to sugar after we get a condition. So that sugar is harmful once you got diabetes, once you have high blood pressure, and all of those other things. But if you're regulating and managing those conditions and you're consuming sugar, you're going to do a whole lot better with naturally derived sugar than you're going to with the ones that have been manufactured.
I'm just going to add to what you talked about in regards to the pineapple. That's something that, I really like pineapple, but it's a pain in the ass to cut it. So after our conversation, you talked about the slicer, and I just went to Atlanta and I'm unpacking my bag and I brought my slicer, because I brought my slicer. So I have it in my bag. I have my slicer because when it comes to the pineapple, I was always using the knife and never even thought about the slicer until I had that conversation with you. And you said, yo, I cut my pineapple with the slicer.
Exactly.
And it takes you like, less than like a minute.
Exactly. And I'll post it. Yeah, there you go. And I'll post
Stop
playing with me.
I'll post a picture of one. Like I get everything out of it too. Every single, like after the slice, split it in half, like every part of that pineapple that's consumable, I get it out. And I even gnaw on the center of it until it gets down to the core that isn't edible. Before we go too far, I want to go back to Kenyatta's question. Real good question. So flaxseed has a myriad of benefits. And his question was about the liquid as opposed to the seed itself. There's really no difference in the benefit. I would suggest the organic form of it just simply because it hasn't been processed and you're going to get less of the other stuff, the extra stuff. But as far as the liquid, I find the liquid to be a whole lot more infusing, like just as is the case in most supplements that you take. If you're taking a liquid, it's going into your bloodstream and you're going to get a lot more of it, as opposed to something that your body has to break down and utilize. Now, one of the things that I've learned recently, as long as I've been using flaxseed, I never realized the dietary benefits of flaxseed when it comes to bolstering your diet. I think most of you guys know that my mom is being treated for cancer. So in the process of me creating green drinks for her to support the cancer treatment process, I added the ground flaxseed to it because that ground flaxseed swells. It swells and takes up space in your stomach, and it's soluble nutrients. And so we were finding that because her palate was altered and because she could consume less, that flaxseed, the ground flaxseed served that purpose. But flaxseed has benefits in joint health. It runs the gamut. Like there are a myriad of benefits in it. So my suggestion, it's really more a matter of preference. If you're doing it and you're trying to do some kind of weight control, I would suggest the ground because of the absorption and the filling that you're going to get in your stomach. But if you want it as it pertains to assisting with the health of your joints and some of the other aspects, I take flaxseed as opposed to fish oil because I'm allergic to shellfish. So the omegas that we need for our brains, that healthy fat that we need, is derived from shellfish primarily, krill and shellfish of that nature. I can't consume that because I'm allergic to it. So I take the flax. The flax is a direct alternative to it. And like I said, I take it in the liquid religiously every day. It's one of the first things I take, like I said, so it goes directly into my bloodstream and my body uses as much of it as it can. I hope I answered your question, Kay.
Jonathan Smith has a question. What if you're allergic to pineapple? What if you're allergic to pineapple?
Oh, you're out of luck. I mean, it's in the sense of consuming it, but are you saying like in the sense of an alternative to pineapple? Like what is it that you're looking for beneficially? Like,
I just heard you talking about the pineapple, so I wonder if it was an alternative. Since some of us have fruit allergies, I can't have strawberries, pineapple, or coconut. So what would be a good alternative to the pineapple or any of those fruits?
You're allergic to what exactly are you allergic to in the fruit? Do you know?
No, something about the acidics in the fruit or something like that. So I'm really leery about most fruits because I don't want an allergic reaction. So what would be just like because I was a vegetarian and I had a problem with the protein, that the avocados would give me a good protein boost with the avocado. So what would be different in this that would be a substitute?
So when it comes to, again, I'll be honest, I couldn't speak to that specifically because I'd have to have some idea or some understanding of what it is that you're reacting to in the fruit to make some suggestions, some alternatives in that sense. Like I mentioned, and I'll reiterate this because I think sometimes we don't realize, most basic insurances cover dietitian and nutritionist services. And I encourage everybody to do that. Just like an allergen and an allergen workup. Like that's something that you should get periodically just simply because sometimes allergies come and go. Sometimes you'll amass one and you'll have it for a period of time and then it ceases. So, and like I said, even the most basic insurance coverages cover things of that nature because they are conditions that could potentially turn into something chronic. So my suggestion in that instance would be to get an allergy workup, to ascertain what it is that you're responding to, and then a nutritionist can subsequently, or a dietitian can subsequently give you some suggestions for alternatives. Next up.
I guess I have another question as well. My
Go ahead.
daughter's brought the scale, you know, that it's attached to an app, fitness app that measures your weight, and you get on the scale, and then on your phone, you know, when you download this app, you can measure your weight and BMI and all that stuff. So my question would be, do you recommend some of those fitness apps? And do you think they're accurate?
So there are some that are a little more accurate than others, but I tend to suggest those from an encouragement standpoint, from a motivational standpoint, as opposed to those being the premise for which you base your results on and what you base whether or not you're achieving your goals on. So it's one thing. So if you notice, I got 2 watches on. I wear Fitbit 24 hours a day. If it says that I walk 50,000 steps, I probably did because I normally do. But it's still more a matter of that's encouraging to me. It gives me an idea of what it is that I'm doing. So in the sense of which one it is that they got, because I'm not familiar with all of them, it's really more a matter of a broad scale for it. But when it comes to, again, I'm always going to shift back to a starting point being a professional who can make these assessments, physicians who can make these assessments to give you starting point, because you don't just want to know what your BMI is, you want to know what it should be. You want to know what direction you're moving in. And whether you get physicals twice a year, once a year, you should be getting some idea of what that ebb and tide looks like. So I'm not adverse to them, but like I said, I wouldn't encourage anyone to base their how well or poorly they're doing based on the apps. They don't hurt. I've got an app on my phone that checks my blood pressure. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not. But it's it's accurate for what I may be experiencing at that particular point. And it may not be that far off from the cuff that I put on my wrist. So you're really going on averages. And when it comes to those, you want to it's giving you a sense of where you are, so you know which direction you're moving in.
I got a question.
ahead.
You mentioned your weight size, you cut it in half, and then you drink that much. Like, all right, I'm 200 pounds, so I should drink 100 ounces a day. You're saying, yeah, you're recommending?
Somewhere in that neighborhood, because you're trying to hydrate body tissue. So that's roughly, and again, I say it's an average because it's based on your water utilization. It's based on how your body's using that water. Because sometimes if we're not doing it regularly, your body's at a water deficit. So if you drank 100 ounces on Monday and didn't do it again until Wednesday, Thursday, chances are your body's at a water deficit. Your body will figure out how to manage and how to make it, and how to get by until you give it what it needs. But you want to normalize that activity. And like I said, a basic assessment is looking at what your urine looks like. And then subsequently, it's a matter of looking at the activity. Because if you're taking medication and other things like that, you need more water. If you're overweight, You need more water because hydration and the process that your body goes through to keep it alive, in the sense of when we get to more extreme conditions, diabetes and things like that. If you guys don't know, parts of your body can die from attached to you, like from diabetes, from some of those extreme conditions, because if it's not properly nutriented and if it's not provided the proper amount of blood, it will die. That's why people who have diabetes get limbs cut off all the time. That's why those abrasions that they get don't heal, because blood isn't being fed to those areas. And eventually that part of your body's gonna die and they have to cut it off to save everything else. So 100 ounces is reasonable, but like I said, work up to it. If you get the gallon, so 100 ounces is 28 ounces shy of a gallon. You get a half gallon, this is a half gallon, you can get a gallon, and just see how much of it you can get through over the course of the day. Like, that's an exercise. Like, how much water can I get through? And then you gradually work it up. Go ahead, Jace.
For those who don't know, in the chat, I put a gallon a day labeled bottle, and it's not one that does measurements. It helps for people who don't really understand their measurements and all that stuff. It helps with time. So it starts off at 7 a.m. And then it gives you another time, but you have to be at this point by 9 a.m. Then it goes to 11, then it goes to like 1. And at the end of the day at 9 p.m., it says, well done at the bottom, and you should be good.
Yeah. Amazon's got a slew of bottles. They've got that. Amazon and a lot of the online sites have got bottles with all kinds of, like I said, it's motivational. And the only thing that I would add to that is don't put pressure on yourself to reach those increments. All of this is a workup, because it's a matter of your tolerance. It's a matter of what you can tolerate in those increments, but it helps you. You get, like, I've got water alarms that go off. There are apps, they're water alarms. Like, hey, time to drink some water. I have a lot of the folks that I provide services to get those, because it's something that they just don't remember or that they just don't prioritize. But it's important. Like, it's critical. Like, those are that water hydration is one of the basic aspects of health and well-being. If you're not drinking enough water, that's going to make every process that you attempt challenging. I had something that I wanted to cover that one. I wanted to go back to the waste removal. I thought about this when Joaquin was talking. So we tend to talk about being regular. Regular is not a matter that you go to the bathroom twice a day. You have to look at what you're passing. You have to look at that waste and consider where it's from. Is it from 2 days ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago? Just because you're going to the bathroom twice a day, that doesn't make you regular. 3 times a day, that doesn't make you regular if you're not removing current waste. Our bodies, though, our intestines, our body will hold on to waste for a real long time, because to it, it's not waste. That's a backup plan. It's like, if this dude stops feeding me, or if he stops feeding me what I'm accustomed to, I'm going to that. So when you've heard people say meat can stay in your system for a really lengthy period based on how often you consume it, because our bodies don't process meat because we're made of meat. Because if it did, it would churn our insides up. So our bodies go through what's called a chumming process. We consume meat, and it does this to similar things that we consume, but most specifically, we consume meat. Our bodies, it passes our esophagus, it goes down into our stomach, and it goes through a chumming process. Your body just basically mashes that meat up to get as much of the nutrients out of it as it can before it passes it into your lower bowel. And it's going to pass it down into your lower bowel, and that meat will sit there until you intentionally remove it. Like, if you've ever seen meat magnetized, if you ever seen meat like just lay somewhere and rot, it'll lay there and rot and turn into maggots until there's nothing left. Meat is not like that. not leaving your system unless you intentionally effort getting it out. So be mindful of that when we're looking at regular and trying to be regular. One of the things that would assist in that earlier, the calm or something intentional towards, because basically that calm goes down into that lower bowel and it bubbles that out. Because once it gets past that point and it's down there, when to get it out is something loosening it up. It's going to loosen it up, it's going to float, and you're going to pass it. That's why when you have diarrhea or you're constipated, it comes out like it does. That's old, pardon my French, old shit. It's old shit that your body's like, hey, thank you, okay? Because it wants to go, but it's like, look, if you're putting something on top of it and something else on top of it, again, that process is assisted by water. Because even if it goes down there and it doesn't bubble up, it's just going, that's just something else down in there. So be mindful of that when you're trying to move to a point or a place of being regular. You should inspect your defecation. You should inspect what you pass, and you should be able to look at it and tell what it is and have some idea of when you consume that. If you don't eat meat for a whole week and you pass meat 2 weeks later, that's that meat from 2 weeks ago. It's the last thing I'm gonna say about defecation, because I don't want to gross y'all out. Your defecation, it shouldn't stink. Contrary to popular belief, like it shouldn't smell like roses, but it shouldn't smell like something where you're running from it. Like this is inside of you. Like, so when your waste is that damn offensive, there's something wrong. And if it's constantly that way, may sound crazy, but that might be a good reason for you to discuss that with your doctor. Like, yo, I gotta go and get going. It shouldn't be that aggressive. It shouldn't be that offensive. So bear that in mind. And again, that goes back to the regularity. If those instances transpire in that manner, it could be because of what you ate, but more often than not, it's because that's some really, really old waste.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Juan.
What's your take on garlic? I've been eating garlic lately.
Drink a lot of.
What's your take on garlic?
Drink a lot of water. Like there is no, like, if we can get biblical, we can get Quranic. Like garlic goes all the way back. Garlic has some additional benefits. Like it's something that's regulatory as far as your system is concerned. But anything in excess is going to have an adverse effect. You eat too much garlic, we're going to know you have garlic, like, because you'll reek. You'll reek it. So, and there is no extensive benefit in excessive amounts. So a clove, garlic tea, something in the sense of where you're just consuming it regularly enough for you to get the benefits of it. So if you start to reek or if you start to smell it coming out of your pores, you're probably consuming too much of it. But there's nothing detrimental about it. Like I said, it has some medicinal benefits. It's been known to lower blood pressure, regulate blood pressure. Like it has some really great benefits, and I've never heard any detriments to it.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can you hear me?
Who's that?
There's Art.
Go ahead.
You know, can I tell him about the situation that happened this week? So he's not mentioned this. You want to well, he had mentioned CMOS. Remember, we discussed the CMOS situation, and he actually told me, like, you know, we talked about it. I got it. I prepared it the way he said, and he was like, "Yo, Art, you're gonna have an event." And I said, "Okay, you know, just listening and talking." And bro, I promise you, brothers, where he said, and I'm not trying to be disgusting, I called Ken ready to curse him out Sunday because I saw Thanksgiving from 2018 throughout my process, and it killed me. But listen, you know what's fine and well. So we talking, and I'm in the gym 2 days later. Y'all remember that O.J. Simpson commercial when the Joker was running through the airport, jumping over stuff? Took me out. And I said, Ken, you told me it was going to be an event, not an event. But I promise you, after that whole process took place, how you feel, and like I eat chicken all the time. I don't eat beef. I hardly ever eat beef. But how you feel once this stuff is removed, yo, you feel totally different. And it's like you do feel like like you can actually feel the water going down. Like if you're not a water drinker, once you start to do this process, you actually feel it refreshing you. So you actually there is some validity. And not saying that you wasn't valid to start with, but that whole I think you need to bring the CMOS part up because listen, the CMOS in the calm, if this don't impact something to get you guys on a new start, it definitely did it for me. And I was cursing Ken out. I straight up was cursing him out because I was not prepared for that.
So let me get this straight, Artie. You're saying when you was in the gym, because of the CMOS, you had to go basically to the bathroom there because you couldn't make it home.
Listen, Sunday, it happened. I was home the whole day. So and it took place like hours later, maybe like 5 hours later. Yo, Ken, I'm going to the gym the next morning, B. My gym is 8 minutes away when I work from home. Halfway in the car, I was like, but I'm fine, brother. Listen, I'm in the middle of a set. I dropped everything. I asked this lady to hold it. She was like, Artie, where you going? I was jumping over people, bro. And it still wasn't, you knew you had to. And then I'm like, yo, Ken, and it's just the whole process. But like after 2 or 3 days, because I've been taking it, and this is my first week, but it's not like that no more. But you still, after you take it, and it wasn't pleasant because I was, I could take this. I took it straight. You do it. I shouldn't have did that. I did that one time, not again. But bro, you do feel the properties of it. And it wasn't harsh. I wasn't cramping up or nothing like that. So it was just different. I would tell you guys to try it, but stay home that first couple of days just to be sure.
Definitely. So the first I see you, Jack. Jack held the goods up. I see you. Yeah, that's a whole nother aspect or facet of it. So the first I want to kind of touch on the CMOS itself. So the molecular structure of CMOS, it comes straight out of the ocean. God made it for us, like literally, He made it for us. I think don't quote me to the number, but I think there are 102. The human body has 102 minerals in it, and CMOS has 96 or 97 of them. So you're literally replacing whatever your body has lost or has started to make less of when you take CMOS regularly. And that's what you're experiencing, because CMOS has its place and it's gonna make room. Like, oh, you're in the way. It's gonna clear you out. So in that, with the CMOS, my suggestion is that you take it first thing in the morning so that you have time to have that experience, so that you have time to entertain. And not to mention the fact that it's also just going to purge the bad stuff that's left, because it's gonna engage or interact with just about anything that you consume. So the good stuff may go too. So take it first thing in the morning after that fasting period, and you should get it'll normalize. Like those initial abrupt or aggressive experiences, they're common just simply because it's a waste remover. Like it's getting stuff out that's not supposed to be there and re-nutrienting your body. So prepare yourself for it. I see Sam got it up. Sam looked like he got the purple. So let me talk a little about CMOS itself. So
Kendrick, there's a question in the chat about CMOS.
Oh,
yeah. You see it?
Yeah, I think I saw it when it first popped up. Oh yeah, definitely. David.
Instruction on how to do that.
Yeah. So if you put your contact information in the chat, we're gonna retain it all, and I'll make sure I get that information to everyone. But as it pertains to the CMOS itself specifically, a couple of cautions I want to give you. So what Art used was what I get directly from St. Lucia. I'm fortunate that I have a contact, and I get I get a lot of it because my family uses it regularly. So, and I believe. But when you're purchasing CMOS, the things I want to suggest that you stay away from are the ones that have been processed. So if it's freeze dried, if it looks like it's just like the difference between concentrate and non-concentrate orange juice. When you get non-concentrate orange juice, that's the orange that they squeeze into that bottle, send it to the supermarket for you to drink it. When you get from concentrate, they dehydrate it, make it into a powder, then make it back into juice with water, and then add the nutrients that were lost when they dehydrated it. So if you're getting sea moss that has been processed, they're doing that for shipping benefits, and also because you kind of can't really assess how much you're getting based on the form that it comes in. So it's dried because no matter what form you use it in, it has to be soaked. So you're gonna soak it. If it's been dehydrated, it'll rehydrate and it'll look like what it looked like before. But chances are most of the nutrients were taken out during that process. Whereas if you get it in its ideal form, it looks like seaweed. It looks like Sam. Sam has Sam, if I can see it correctly, so also comes, based on where it comes from, it comes in different hues. So he has the purple, which is kind of like the coveted one, but the basic form of it, they're all good as long as they come in the non-dehydrated form. So I can actually make mine available to you guys. So whomever may not have access to it or not that comfortable getting it from someone online, the ebbs and tides, to talk about how I can get you guys some of mine. Like I said, though, prepare yourself for arts experience because it's going to happen. And if you haven't had that experience, there is something that's inhibiting that process in your body. Like I said, for everyone, the experience is going to be different. So you may not have that experience that Art had. It may be because you are regular, but it also may be because you have so much that's inhibiting the process, you need to get to that point. But I would be extremely surprised if you didn't have that experience. That's why when we discuss the calm and the sea moss, I know when it's worked, okay? Because it's not something you're just like, hey, like when like Joaquin said, he was trying it, a month later when it kicked in, I got the text. He was like, yo, because it's an experience. Like it's something where your body does something it hadn't done in a really long time, probably not since you were a baby shitting out the green peas. So it's something where your body's like, oh.
I never want that feeling again, though.
I can still do this. And you know what? Keep the bad stuff out because like I said, it's gonna get it out, and then you adjust the amount because ultimately that's what it is. It's a supplement to replace what your body has lost. And it's also necessary to keep you regular and to kind of make sure your body's functioning properly. So how often you take it is based on what your body needs. Like I do it just about every day, but it's a preference and my body's accustomed to it and I kind of adjust the amount. My family, a couple of times, maybe 3 times a week or whatever the case may be, it's all based on what your system needs in order for it to get to where it needs to process or function.
I have a quick question about the sea moss. I made a little too much, so I put it in the mason jar and I froze it because I remember you said it has a shelf life of about 2 weeks. You said.
You broke up a little. Say it again.
So I made a little too much at the first batch. So I had 2 mason jars extra because you said it has a shelf life of about 2 weeks. I think you said right after you prepare it. So I froze it. Is that okay?
Yeah,
or?
it should be fine.
Should be good.
Like I said, it depends on. I think I didn't see. Was yours dehydrated?
Yeah, that was another question I was going to, because it looked like Sam's. It's dry and then you put it in water and it expands and so.
Yeah, it's gonna expand. But when I say dehydrated, it literally. So I remember what you had. Yes, yours wasn't dehydrated. If yours was dehydrated, it would have been a third of the size, and you would have been able to. It kind of when they dehydrate it, it looks like tumbleweed. It looks like tumbleweed out in the desert. They take all of the moisture out of it, and it just looks like tumbleweed. It looks like a ball of some stuff, but when you put it in the water, it rehydrates and it swells, just like the one that you have. You don't want that dehydrated one, because like I said, nothing can be dehydrated without them taking the nutrients out. So it may swell and it may look like what it looked like prior to, but when our pursuit is the nutrients value, you're not getting the nutrients from that dehydrated.
So how can I really tell if how can I tell if it's dehydrated or not?
Like I said, if it's dehydrated, it's not gonna look anything like Sam's. Like it's literally like it'll be like yeah, I guess tumbleweed is a bad analogy or a bad example. It'll look dry. Like it'll look dry and it'll be really, really small. So they'll send you 4 ounces and tell you that it's gonna make 16.
I got you.
Because all of the water is out of it. And like I said, they do that because normally it's being mass produced somewhere in Asia or whatever the case may be. The versions that come from the Caribbean, they don't dehydrate it. Like mine comes in a 50-pound sack. They don't take the moisture out of it because you want it. You want it to come with the sodium because the salt from the ocean is the preservative. Like that's what's going to preserve it. So you should get it. It should have salt sediment in the bottom of it. It should have some mixed coloring. It should be oddly shaped throughout. That's how you know that it's real. But if it's like a little ball of stuff that looks like a ball of thread that might have been unraveled and then they just packed it together and stuffed it in a cellophane bag, and that's when it's been dehydrated. If it's not coming from the Caribbean, chances are it's been dehydrated.
When you're ready to, open it up, I'm down, brother. Just let me know. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam got a question.
Go ahead, Sam. He's not muted.
Can't hear you. That's crazy. His mic is not on or something?
I don't know, because it's not muted.
No, it's not muted, but it must be on a computer.
Yeah, you muted, Sam. There it is.
But it's still, right.
Sam, we can't hear you.
Do sign language, brother.
I thought I heard something. Go out and come back in.
Yeah.
So we're winding down. So if anyone have any questions, this is the perfect time to, ask them of Kendrick.
Hey, I just wanted to make a comment. Y'all were talking about pineapples. I had my wife stop at the store and grab one. So, thank you, Kendrick. I appreciate that. I'm going to enjoy that tonight.
Good stuff.
You're strong, Phil.
Get your
Kendrick about the action too, right? The action, right?
You go take that old shit, all right? Excuse my language.
Wow. Okay.
It's already gone. It's all gone. I'm a new man.
Okay. All right, Rob.
Miss back.
Let me see if I didn't. I think I covered most of it. But like I said, I wanted it to be something that. So this is something that I noticed that I wanted to touch on because I noticed that folks sometimes tend to do this. If for some reason you get injured and it's necessary for you to wear a brace or a support of some sort, a lot of the physicians will kind of go either way because they're looking at it from a cost-effective standpoint. But I always suggest that you wear supports on both sides where you're experiencing the injury. So if you have to wear knee support on your left, you should wear it on your right because muscles are compensatory. Like muscles compensate. It's a natural process. It's a natural experience. Like when you're walking and you hurt your knee, your body's going to naturally compensate to take that off. If you don't give additional support to the compensating area, you're going to weaken and potentially injure that area. So just bear that in mind. Some professionals kind of lean away from that because they're like you lessen the strength in the non-injured area. That's not the case. Like it's not. That muscle is going to continue to function and work the way it is, but you want to support both of them while that rehabilitative process is transpiring, and follow the rehabilitation through. Like a lot of times we're in a rush to get back or whatever the case may be. If you're going through rehab at a reputable center or place or whatever the case may be, whatever their suggestion is what you should go through with. Because if not, you run the risk of not being properly rehabbed. It's going to show back up. That injury is coming back. I guarantee you. No questions asked. So follow that through and just kind of wait. Because again, going back to the point that I made earlier about muscle having memory, after that injury, it's going back to where it was, or it's at least going back to where it should be. Sometimes we're not going to get 100% depending on what the injury is, but we got to let our bodies decide that, as opposed to us saying, oh yeah, I'm ready. But they're looking at that scar tissue and they're looking at what's transpiring with that injury. They know you're not back, but you're going to go to it and go full bore. You're going to probably wind up hurting yourself or causing some additional injuries that can be foregone just by going through the rehabilitation.
So how do you determine how much rest you should be taking?
Ooh, there is the psychological battle that transpires with that, which I think a lot of times is more prevalent because we're telling ourselves what we think we need. A standard workout routine 3 times a week, how long those workout routines are something that should kind of be at your discretion. I'm usually not suggesting anything over 75 minutes, but that's when you've advanced to where that 75 minutes is productive. Again, if you get to the point where you're tempting injury because you just want to go a little harder, you just want to do a little more, you're going to wind up knocking yourself out and be out of it. So if you're exercising 3 times a week, a standard, although it may be challenging, we kind of need the effort somewhere between 6 and 8 hours of sleep. But now there's sleep and there's rest. So if it's a matter that we find ourselves not getting as much sleep, even if we can put ourselves in a state where we're reducing the physical activity, like our bodies are resting now. Our minds are the most heavily engaged part of our body right now because of what we're doing. So if you can find time to do that, as opposed to it being a constant physical thing, then you're going to find some challenges. One of the benefits or one of the aspects that you can be mindful of when you're trying to adjust and pursue rest is to exhaust yourself before you go to sleep. Folks tend to focus so heavily on the diet. Oh, don't eat this many hours before you go to sleep, and this, and the other. That's important, but it's not as important as the level of exhaustion that you experience prior to sleeping, because that is what tends to get us to that REM level where we're actually like knocked out, like our bodies are at full rest so that it can do all of those other things that it needs to do. So some light exercise, you know, if you got a willing participant, whatever the case may be, something that's going to get you to that where it's like, oh, okay, I'm good. So if you need a reason or an excuse, be like, hey, you know, Kendrick said,
I'm not telling that. You're already in the doghouse in my house.
Huh?
I said, you're in the doghouse in my house.
I know. Don't say nothing to call. Don't tell.
I live with a black woman. I can't go home talking like that.
Huh?
I live with a black woman. I can't go home and be saying.
I'm saying
right,
you don't gotta be specific. You don't gotta be specific. Just allude to, like when you talk tonight. Like, what did you guys talk about? Better sleep. See what I'm saying? Just like, oh, so what does that entail? It was long. I can show you. Just go from there. You see that's a segue. Be like, it was a lot. I'm gonna show you later. Okay.
That's smooth. That's smooth, brother. R&B 90s smooth. That's smooth.
Oh, hey. I'm about that life. Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, the closer you are to exhaustion, and when I'm saying exhaustion, I'm talking like when you've engaged your muscles and put them to work. When you lay your body down, it's like, okay, I don't have to do anything else. And it'll gradually relax into that. Something that I would suggest that there are different dispositions about it, but I'm an advocate, black noise. Now, I know I'm not just saying that because we're black, because there is white noise, but there is black noise. Black noise has been proven to be beneficial for sleep because it's something that settles your body. So it's just like Apple, Spotify, they all have it. You turn it on, turn it at a level where you can barely hear it, but your body will respond to it and it'll relax your body into sleep.
Well, I was actually talking more about in terms of training because like you taking like rest days.
Well, if you're working out 3 days a week, you're a case, all right? Like,
no, I'm just putting it out there because I want Philip to know and the killer to know that they don't stand a chance. But the old man is coming for them. But go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, and I just kind of want to give you guys fair warning. Y'all be going back and forth with the Black Rhino. I'm not making any disclaimers, but I also want to say I'm not responsible for the outcome of that. But I like the banter, and I think that that's another form of encouragement. Like when
no doubt, it's all love
between each other, and like really encourage and motivate each other to be better. So off days, like if you're going every other day, that can be sufficient. Again, as long as you have to give your body enough time to recover. So if you're going into the gym injured, you haven't given yourself enough time, enough downtime for the recovery aspects of it. So it's gaugeable and it's individual. It's really based on what you're experiencing. If those workouts aren't functional, you kind of want to give it a little more time and respond to your body. There've been days when I'm geared up, I'm psyched. I show up at the gym and I'm like, I don't got it. I turn around and go home. Like, I'm not gonna die if I don't, and I mean, I'm fortunate. I can go downstairs and make up for it. But aside from that, like, respond, like, listen to your body, see what your body says. Sometimes halfway through a couple of exercises in, you feeling away, go home. Go home and give your body some nutrients, some things that will assist it in that repair. That's rest and some good food. Rest, some good food, and some water. It's there. Kev, you've been quiet. You good? Both of y'all. No, I see you writing, KB. I see Kevin writing. I haven't heard anything from KG. You good, Kev?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
That's Kevin's son, by the way.
Oh, okay. What's up, young one?
How are you? I'm
good. I love the youngsters, y'all. Like you would not believe, like, and I call him young, but what is Kev, like 6'4", 6'5"?
He's 6'4".
Yeah, he's younger. He ain't smaller. But dude, anybody else? Yo, Keely, I'm not gonna let you get away with the show off, okay? I saw you doing all of that or whatever the case may be. But I also saw one of your IG posts where you look like you might have had a small, like, what do you call those? The corner pillows, one of the throw pillows from the sofa up under your shirt. I need you to address that. Keely, sit there and with your mute and your camera off. I'm gonna put you spot up. Okay?
I'm still stuck on Phil gaining 30 pounds and I'm bugging out on this one, but go ahead.
Listen, the gyms were closed. There was no cardio and I was sitting at home.
It's not a floor in your house? It's not a floor in your house, military dude?
Look.
Couldn't have pushed that floor?
Workouts, I graduated from that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So
I got
Oh,
you.
okay. All right. So like Uncle Mike said, let me check the chat one more time because we're rounding. I appreciate your time. You guys, I don't think there's anyone on here who doesn't have access to me. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Like, I've been fortunate in life. So like I don't monetize everything that I do. Like if I could do something for someone, sometimes that has more value in it than any amount of money that I could make from something. So like you guys got some questions. If you're in the WhatsApp group, there's a number in there. You can shoot me a text. You can shoot me a direct message. I'm gradually getting to this social media thing. I spent a lengthy period of time and still in the security industry. So I've always had to prioritize the folks that I protect and that I'm responsible for. So the reality is if you can find me, you can find them. So I'm not that dude all over social media, telling you where we're at so you can come and get an autograph or punch them in the face because you didn't like something that they did. So, but I'm getting to that because I've got a little more flexibility in that respect. But appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time.
Well, Kendrick, we appreciate you. This has been amazing, really great. And I know, like you like to tell us, we don't just want to be hearers, we want to be doers. We want to implement and actually do what we've learned. So,
there's that.
So do you have a challenge for us for this week? Maybe we just give ourselves challenges so that we come back next week and report back to each other, even one change we've made or something we took from this amazing presentation that Kendrick did. I think that's so important that we hold ourselves accountable and we hold each other accountable. Sometimes we need that motivation. So that's what we're here for. So anyone have anything they want to make a commitment to or say?
I see Ishmael put the pineapples in there. I would say basic, start basic. I see, okay, got both the Kevs in there now. I see you, bro. I would say the basics, water. Like if you can't do anything else, go get one of these bottles. Like when I say, if you're not like constantly mindful of like this bottle travels through my house, everybody in my house has got a water bottle. Like, because if you're not constantly like immersed in the idea of the importance of it, it'll get away. And you'll be like, yeah, I will. And nothing else counts. So it's not like water, tea, juice, no, water. The other stuff you're welcome to, but bear in mind the detriment that some of those beverages have as it pertains to the water. So prioritize the water and then kind of work your way through all of the others. Because if you're drinking, there was a brother on here and I was hoping that he came back and I didn't get his information, but he said that he got up in the morning, and if he is on here, I hope I'm not putting him on blast. He said that he got up in the morning, drank a big cup of coffee and didn't drink or eat anything else during the day. That's a recipe for disaster. Like the dehydration process that transpires during that, hey baby, the hydrative process that transpires during that is like turn on a pressure washer and leaving the water off. You're gonna burn the engine up. Like I wish I had gotten an opportunity to address him in regards to that, but I wasn't presenting that day and it kind of got away. That would be my suggestion. If we could all commit to getting a water vessel. Like I said, this is a vitamin shop. The vitamin shop has them. This is a half gallon and they make a gallon. If you just get the half gallon, start with that. Like I said, fill it up and keep it somewhere. The reason why I like the half gallon is because I can put a straw, one of the longer straws in there, and then I don't have to keep turning it up. And the half gallon, go through it, see how long it takes. And let's just, because again, at the end, like I said, we got to be honest with ourselves. We can come back here next week and be like, yo, I'm all over that water. Like I drank 2 gallons. I'm up to 2 gallons a day. I'd be like, yeah, you must be calling from the hospital. But we're honest with ourselves. We'll move to that place we're trying to get to and then just gradually move through it at that point. Like we'll probably do this again in a month or so, give or take, depending. And we can do a check-in. We can kind of get some sense of where we're at. And like I said, in the meantime, if you guys put your information in there, you go into the WhatsApp. If you got a question, I'll answer it. If I don't have the answer, I'll get it. Like this is that important to me. So.
Well, once again, Kendrick,
Can I say one thing, Uncle Mike, really quick before you do it? I apologize. Kendrick, can I add, if anybody needs an accountability partner for a week, let's go for it. Whatever time you do it. And listen, we can check in on each other. We don't got to work out at the same time. You can virtually check in just to be like, yo, are we doing this? Or what's going on? Or I'm not feeling it today. We could do something to help each other get to the next level. So whoever's willing to do that, let's just sign up for that and let's go for it.
Yeah, thanks, somebody partner up with Akili. He needs some help.
We appreciate that.
I want Akili and Phil.
Artie will hold you to it. Trust me.
Oh, no doubt. I got your number, Ken.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We're here every Thursday, and we chop it up. Feel free to come back. We thank you once again, Kendrick, for a real informative and inspiring talk on health and wellness. And I know it's going to transform our lives in an incredible way. So thanks again, Kendrick.
For sure. No problem.
Derek,
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
close out. Just thank you.
No, just Kendrick again, and thank you for sharing that very important information, because it's when we're talking about our health, in order to really be there for our children, we really have to take care of ourselves. So this is very important information, because a lot of times when we are talking about what we're doing as dads, it's always about what we have to do for everybody else. And really the most important person is you first. And we have to learn to put ourselves first. So we really have to take care of our health. So thank you for sharing that very important information, to the group. So thank you.
What I would say is, Mr. Wonderful, you're wonderful, brother.
Say that.
I appreciate you, Puma. And a sidebar on that. That's current dads and dads to be. Because like I said, several of the youngsters are on here who haven't moved into that realm yet. But prepare yourself for that part in your youngster's life. You become responsible for their wellness journey. All right.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And
thank you, brother. Thank you, Kendrick.
All right, John.
All right, man.
Good
Be
night.
safe, everybody.
Night.